Alex Answer here, April 3rd, 2014. And today I thought it would be fitting if I did today's video somewhat in nature, even though I'm only about 100 feet off the road. And I'm off of a side road which is not too far from MLK and Lombard. I'm in the North Portland industrial area at the moment, not too far from the Columbia River, which separates Oregon and Washington State. Now, I just came from a job interview and I talked with one of the managers, and hopefully I'll get a call back for a second interview. But what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about the job situation, not only nationally, but here in Portland, as well as the housing situation, as well as the homelessness issue in the overall country, in the United States. The homelessness issue is an issue that a lot of people don't understand unless they've been there. And we'll also talk about the food situation, Big Agri. So we're going to mix and blend a number of topics within this video. Now, I want to start with the job situation. For those that don't know, Portland, which is the place that I was born in 1980, although I grew up in Aurora and moved back into Portland when I was 13, Portland continues to see a mass influx of domestic immigrants from all over the continental United States, and with many corporate jobs with franchises throughout America, it's far easier to just move to a city and already have a job waiting for you, thanks to the internet, thanks to globalization. What this isn't is a complaint, it's an observation of how technology has changed things dramatically and taken us from a local-based economy to a global-based economy with instantaneous communication and a number of other things. Things are done in a much different way than that which they were done in the past. It's changed relationships, it's changed the workforce. Let me give you an example. I used to work at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. I bussed tables there for 5 years. A lot of people don't know that I worked most of my life before going off the grid in 2012. And at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, a lot of the waiters were brought in from other cities in some cases. There were transfers. There were some people that were promoted from within, but without deviating, they were of a certain type of individual. And we're not necessarily just talking personality. We're talking physical appearance. And that's just how the world is, unfortunately. A lot of people want to believe that the world is different than that. The world is not different than that. And what I've come to understand about the Portland area is whenever there's a service job or a job at a certain level, when it's entry level, if it's being advertised or if it's on Craigslist, it's going to get thousands of applications. That job will have thousands of applicants visit that particular restaurant, especially if it's a restaurant, especially if it's on Craigslist, especially if it's near downtown Portland. And so competition is fierce for jobs. And with the internet, with technology, people can apply from other cities that have way more experience than people in that specific locale. So the game has changed. And a lot of people play games, dishonest games, in order to get up on somebody else. That's all about the competition paradigm. Of course, we can cover that in another video. But let's stay on point. So Portland is a game of musical chairs, because there's also a lot of people that have moved out of the city, and there's a lot of people that have moved into the city. So it really is about impressing that person that is in position to hire you. And that's another interesting area of conversation, the type of people that are put in position of hiring. Now, I have no complaints to say about the place I just came from, and I'm fairly hopeful that I will be hired so I can earn an income so I can put it back into Outside the Box TV. And so what I'm trying to do now is take the steps that I can to get back to doing Outside the Box TV on a regular basis. But in order to do that, I've got to find a place to live. I've got to find a job. And I would be lying to you if I told you that I wasn't frustrated coming back to a town and not having even leads on jobs from people that actually know the employer. And I don't think that that is asking for much, to have someone that's already working somewhere say, Alex, our boss is hiring, my boss is hiring. So far, only one recommendation came through, and it was making sandwiches for Subway. which is something that I would consider doing if nothing else came through. Gotta understand that that's the lowest fast food job you can have. That's lower than McDonald's because they'll hire one person to make sandwiches for an army of 20 people walking through the door, and that person also happens to be the cashier. Anyone who's a Subway customer understands this. So if things truly get apocalyptic, yeah, I'll go make sandwiches at Subway, but I'm not going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I'll start just shortly higher than the bottom and work my way up. No, seriously. The job that I just applied for, a monkey could do. And so if I don't get it, maybe I'm not supposed to have it. Maybe there's a better job for a 34-year-old grown man who can think on his feet quite well, who has somewhat of a photographic memory, capable of news reporting. I'd like to know, to all those people that said, Alex, when are you coming back to Portland? I'd like to know why there's so much silence concerning the job situation and lack of true leads. I think that people have gotten so used to living in total abject poverty that they forget how far we've fallen. And I think, to go back to some of my other videos about the importance of considering independent community building outside the fucking grid, why I speak of this. I haven't failed by coming back to my place of birth. The size of my cojones just grew. The fact that I'm able to just leave my stuff just like that, my car, and go somewhere with total faith everything will work out. And to go somewhere and then leave knowing there was something I was supposed to learn from this. What did I learn from being in Kansas City? Portland is better than Kansas City. I told myself for a long time I would never come back to this city being destitute, penniless, and broke. Let's see how much cash I have in my pocket. Oh, you know, it's been an expensive week. I've got $5, I've got $6, I've got $7, I've got $8, and I have taken people's verbal abuse on this YouTube channel, calling me a beggar, calling me a drug addict, calling me a brain-damaged thug, all types of, well, not so much thug. There was one guy that went hog wild last week. What I'm trying to get across is that people think that on this YouTube channel that I share everything about myself and my experiences, and that's not true at all. There's a lot of things that I haven't discussed on this YouTube channel about my life and things I've gone through because some of it is profoundly negative. You cannot just focus on the negative things in life. And there are certain things that have happened to me that are so ridiculous, I've never mentioned them on this YouTube channel because all it's going to do is pour salt on that wound. And all it's going to do is give those that wish to see my downfall, those that enjoy seeing me in pain, they will use that against me. Any information they can gather, they will use that against me. It took a lot for me to come back to the city with nothing. And it was healing for me to come back and accept the fact that I could very well be living in the back of my truck very soon. I've got a canopy put on the back of that truck, and instead of spending that money on drinks, hey, party, I'm back in Portland. I haven't gone out once since I've been back. I'm a 34-year-old man. I quit smoking months ago. Never went out for a night on the town since I've been back. I haven't stepped foot in downtown Portland. It's been 3 weeks. I'm not saying I had a problem with that before, but I do know that when I lived in Portland before, I would try to find friends in the bar rooms. I would try to find friends downtown and explain things to them, like the street preacher, about all of this. And I would get so frustrated when people didn't show any open-mindedness to the information being presented. So coming back to Portland 3 years later, I have a different approach, a different plan of action. How's it going? Okay. So it took a lot to come back to the Portland, Oregon area without having certain things set up in advance. It took a certain leap of faith and even a deeper understanding. It might be possible that I'm here for only a short period of time, and I'm not really here to stay. And in a way, it was very healing to me to leave Portland and experience what I experienced in the desert, but also return to Portland to say goodbye to the past and the world that I once knew, the way of life. and be flexible and not attached to anything, including the idea of staying in Portland. I've kept my options open, and I'm also considering going south of Portland in the near future if things don't pan out here, either finding adequate shelter outside of just simply living in my canopy, or if it's a situation where I absolutely cannot find work where I have somewhat of an opportunity to line my pockets with a much needed income that can help me return to outside the box. What I'm not interested in doing is just returning to the hamster wheel. And a lot of people today are stuck in the hamster wheel of life. And that's what I want to caution people away from, is getting used to that hamster wheel. When people attack me without knowing my full history or watching my previous episodes of Outside the Box, when people have slandered me and done certain things to attack me, what they're really doing is showing how upset they are that I was able to create something that they have not themselves created, which is their own show, their own website, their own message. Being willing to put yourself out there and let people attack you. I've done things that other people wouldn't do. Put their own birth name out there. And then, of course, we have to deal with the reality that a lot of people out there believe that you must be an agent or paid by the government to promote disinformation if you're still alive. If you dare speak against the New World Order and you're not dead, you must be a part of the system in some way. This is really distorted thinking. This is victim consciousness. And these are the excuses people make for the fact that they're not a part of the actual spoken word revolution. The pen is truly mightier than the sword. So people use those excuses to make excuses for themselves, for their own inaction. And that's unfortunate, but that's exactly how things work. When people say to me, Alex, I have to work every day for a living, I see people like you trying to seek out your freedom and do things like that. They discount how many years I have worked, and that my recent departure in recent years from the grid was in response to the sense of slavery that I felt working at the same job for years and being let go as soon as the economy went south in 2009. That's ridiculous. And I want to challenge all of you out there that are working, that are placing judgment, to not be another slave. Don't go criticizing other people when they seek freedom. Encourage them to be successful. And when they are successful, ask them what they did. Don't resent them, and never assume that we're capable of something that you're not. Never downplay your own power, ever. And that's what you're doing. When you attack other people for seeking freedom, you're degrading yourself. You're degrading your own value, in particular, the power of your soul. And that's what this YouTube channel has always been about. The dynamic human spirit that truly refuses to submit to these draconian authority programs. And you can do it, and you won't necessarily be able to do it overnight, nor will I. It's a way of life. Freedom is a way of life, and it starts within. Freedom is an inside job. There are so many people out there that say they want freedom from all these draconian things, yet they haven't changed the way that they look at things. They haven't changed the way that they look at the world and other people. And if you want to be free, you can't be living a life where you hate other people when they seek freedom. You'll never be free that way. Resenting other people for what they do or what they say on their YouTube channel will not help you find freedom. You will find yourself in a deeper prison, but the prison is of the mind. All of this is in the mind. I advocate this. For those of us that are going back into the system, for those of us that are working in the system, the idea is to know why you work. What are you doing with your money? And I've already laid out my goals. When I start making money again, and hopefully I will, that money is going to be saved for my own land to live off the grid in freedom. And I will accomplish my goal, even if I'm one of the first to do it. And I will have my own off-the-grid studio. It will run off solar. I don't even necessarily have to have internet where I am, but I will be creating content, and it will be done with the intention of focusing on the information. What I did when I went to South Colorado was stage one. There were many pre-steps that came before that. I had been talking about off-the-grid living, interviewing people about, various aspects of survival, preparedness. I already got my feet wet intellectually. I already went scouting here in the Pacific Northwest, doing the edible plants videos, and then I literally jumped in the middle of nowhere off the grid. You think I'm done with that? See, going out there and detaching from the luxuries of the grid was step one. Step two is becoming self-sufficient, economically self-sufficient. What does that mean? That means I'm able to stay out there and remain out there and not go hungry. Not everything is about being 100% perfect and being a hunter and killing rabbits every day. Seriously, there is a middle way. You don't have to be Buddhist to understand the concept of staying out of polarities and understanding the middle way. There isn't just, oh, you're a wage slave and oh, you're free. There are shades of gray here, ladies and gentlemen. And no one said you had to be perfect. So there's no reason why you should, for those that do, act like I should be perfect. It's about planting seeds of consciousness that hopefully can set us free in some way, shape, or form. But again, freedom is an inside job. And you don't become freer by attacking other people seeking to be even more free spiritually, physically, psychologically, emotionally. You only hurt yourself. You become more free by challenging yourself. You become more free by ceasing and desisting from looking to others for answers, even about the New World Order, because you know yourself. You don't need a leader. And there's a lot of healing that I've done recently when I have energetically shut the door on certain influences out there that would love to have your attention as well. You know, there's certain voices out there, certain distorted messages that are being promoted right now in the alternative media that I don't believe are accurate. I stand against the lies that I see in the alternative media. But I also stand back from those that are filled with hate in the alternative media, that just speak ill of other people. Oh, this person does this person does that. When I discuss a certain individual being a sociopath, and I'm trying to pull people away from becoming like that, because I see monkey do in other people, and I've seen it in myself in my younger years. And I don't perceive that to be very evolved behavior. We should seek to be our own leader and find those answers within. The tagline for Outside the Box for years at the end of every show was the path to the ultimate truth still lies within. And later on I added in the other aspect of that, as well as source of power. The path to the ultimate place of truth and wisdom and power still lies within. And when people are looking outside of themselves for answers, when they succumb to the illusion of separation, oh, look at what they have, look at what he has. When we separate from each other, but we are all individuals, but when we separate from the concept of the oneness reality, that we're all in this together, we lose. So people hear that slogan, united we stand, divided we fall, and it's been used as a military industrial complex propaganda meme, which is unfortunate. But the overarching reality of that quote holds true. So that was branding. They were touching on your emotions, and they often do that. What we need to do is continue to evolve. And so as we now turn the topic to homelessness, people need to evolve their understanding of what is happening in America. You cannot speak out of your mouth on one side and speak ill of Obama and what he's done to the economy and then beat people up that are actually fucking homeless. That is psychotic. That is sociopathic, and that is demonic. That's when you know you're dealing with someone that actually has an entity inside them. When they will criticize and say, hey, we're under economic collapse, but fuck you for being affected by it. I've got a job. I've got something you don't have. Once you get a fucking job, you bum. And if I had a nickel for every time some of that shit came through when I was in my lowest moments in the desert, fuck, man. I would have never had to ask for a donation. Just throw your fucking insult with the nickel. Boom! I got 50 bucks because it made those people feel powerful. There they were, locked at their job, never taking a vacation, never going off grid, and they're saying, you need to give up. You need to give up. And somehow or another, in their mind, they thought they were extracting power from sending those words. That is interesting shit. And that also woke me up a little bit to the power of my influence in my words. That I would cause such anger in an entity that they would come through a human being and attack me like that. I had to actually do some real, not so much soul searching, I had to have my own wake-up call. Wow, that really said something. And every time someone tried to toy with my emotions or hurt me, it said something about my power, that I would be upsetting the dark forces of this matrix to such a degree that it would be channeling through certain human beings. And you know when certain messages are being channeled through, when those messages are being repeated over and over and over through people. Get a job, you're a bum, you have no value, I've never seen you do anything of value. Who are these people to say these things? But because I've shown emotion in the past, and they know I care so much, that's why they do it. And overall, the agenda is the same. To bother my spirit in such a degree that I just completely give up. Best case scenario for them, I blow my own brains out. Which is exactly why I blocked Justin Barber in Denver, Colorado, who works for a certain credit card company that announced he was going to be my stalker for about a month. Take down my websites, take down this YouTube channel, get in touch with old friends, stalk me physically and on a cyber level, apply his own resources to defaming me. Of course, he was never able to do that. And the very fact that all this was because I blocked him from Facebook gave me an even deeper examination of how I think certain people are afflicted with entities, demons, to where they make it their goal in life to attempt to make someone miserable. That tells you very, very clearly what we're dealing with in terms of the spiritual warfare taking place right now. That's horrible. That's deplorable. And whenever you attack or steal or hurt or rape someone else, the karmic consequences that come with that are outrageous. So anyone that is actively trying to hurt other people, they don't understand natural law. They don't understand that what you put out comes back. And it's through my understanding of natural law, that's why I have been able to survive as long as I have. To visit some of the places that I visited with very little money. While people might assume that's costing all this money to travel around, you'd be amazed how synchronicity brings us to certain people at the right time. For example, I am not currently staying with anyone that I'm connected with on Facebook. I did not get a job reference recently from anyone on Facebook. That seemed to have been cosmically arranged some other way. Facebook was not involved in the equation. No one on Facebook has come through. Sending me a Craigslist ad is great and awesome. That's not the same as a referral to someone you know. You may be awesome for doing that. It's not the same as a direct referral. It had to come from the non-Facebook, non-YouTube world, even though most people that I'm connected with and speaking with happen to be on Facebook and happen to be on YouTube. But God works through mysterious ways. And I'm very hopeful that the Creator has a very positive thing in store for me, because Daddy needs some rest. Daddy needs a little income. Daddy needs a home, okay? And we've got to get the focus back on Outside the Box TV. But running around, living in a truck, don't know how long that's going to be feasible. So I'm being practical and hopeful that things will change very quickly. Got another person coming up here. So the next thing that I'm going to address in this video is the homelessness issue, which a lot of people don't understand that haven't actually been homeless, either in Portland or anywhere else. And so we're going to return to that, because even a lot of homeless don't understand. There's a particular stereotype of the average homeless person, and that's an alcoholic or a drug addict, and certainly in places like Portland we see a lot of that. But there's also those that have become recently homeless since 2008, 2009, 2010, and remember, it was a conspiracy theory in 2004 and 2005 to even suggest that the housing bubble was going to pop. There was a lot of denial at that time, and still a lot of popular belief that the invasions of Iraq, the invasions of Afghanistan would somehow or another boost the economy. There's a lot of challenged people in this country. You don't necessarily have to assume that it's the fluoride in the water, the aspartame, or the food. The food supply, the quality of the food that we're eating today continues and it continues to be degraded more and more and more unless you're growing your own food or you're eating whole grains or organic or certain fruits and vegetables. If you're eating Doritos, if you're eating McDonald's, if you're eating Taco Bell, if you're eating the mainstream meat, the mainstream cheese, the mainstream milk, the mainstream cereal, you're going to have psychological, emotional, physical, perhaps even spiritual complications. That's why it's important to detox when you can. Drink filtered water without fluoride. Take olive leaf extract. Take oil of oregano. Clean your system out. Clean some of that internal fungus. Oil pull, coconut oil. Work out. Go running. Do martial arts, yoga, tai chi. Be healthy. Don't just sit down, consume mainstream media, and eat horrible food. But because of the lifestyle choices that people have been taught, monkey see, monkey do. We have a lot of people that are challenged psychologically. Part of being challenged psychologically is memory loss, okay? So how many people remember being warned about these things years ago that were in denial when you try to warn them, when I try to warn them? How many of you are in denial right now? How many of you remember being in denial in 2004 and 2005? And you haven't yet come to terms or ever said sorry to those people that you fucking called crazy. You know, make amends for people you may or may not have hurt. It's a healthy thing to do. And there certainly are a lot of people that weren't doing this or speaking about this a decade ago. They're Johnny-come-latelys, either as a talk show host or as someone that quote-unquote woke up. Newsflash, we'll cover this in another video. You don't wake up and go from A to Z. You have an awakening process where you open your mind, okay? And you try to close down your lower self. You try to expand your consciousness with an open mind and hear out the information from others without placing judgment or hating on them or creating negative karma. That's not waking up. So there's different reasons why some people are homeless today, and assuming that someone's homeless because they're a thief, they're an addict, or that they use people is a very unconscious thing to do. And the reality is, and I want to be very clear with this, why I don't take some of this too personally and why I'm able to keep it together. Everything that I have done is helping me prepare for the real world of tomorrow. I have a head start on what it's like to live without money. I have a head start on what it's like to live in my truck. I have a head start on what it's like to live in the desert without water being brought to my house. I have a head start on what it's like to live without technology. I have a head start being judged for who I am. And in a way that puts me ahead of the curve because of that Jedi mind training that and survivalist stuff mixed in. Plus, again, some very spiritual lessons that I have learned, and acknowledging the Creator in my life. Having all my needs met because I'm doing the right thing, and to the best of my ability, I'm trying to create a better world for the next generation. This isn't about myself, and this isn't about where we go from here, whether we're going to win or lose. I don't see it linear. I see it circular, and I don't believe that we live just once. We're doing this to live in a better world for all of us as souls. Some people get, involved in the New Earth theories, but they're thinking about this world. Great. I welcome Eckhart Tolle, classic mainstream New Age. Oh, we're going to just be raptured up by the good aliens, come down and party. Look, I'm not saying that I have insider information that those things aren't going to happen. I'm saying what my heart tells me is that this is about the soul's journey in the spiritual biological matrix. You can watch other videos about that. That's what this is about. That's why we fight. That's why we speak. It's the soul's journey. And there's been too many mainstream Christians and mainstream New Agers that thought they were getting away from Christianity. They're too focused in the body, on what happens in the body. The body is what we came into as souls to work out our stuff and karma and show what we're made of, what we're willing to stand against. The real evolution, the real ascension is a spiritual one, and that deals with your lifetime after this. Not jumping out of this body in this lifetime. I just have to throw that out there. And that is the next great awakening for a whole generation of baby boomers to wake up to. This is about where you go from here when you take your last breath at 80-something or 90-something. That's what this is about. Hopefully the world will become a prettier place by then. In the meantime, people like me will continue to incarnate into realities like this to remind you that it isn't necessarily that paradise on earth that you might think. There is an evil here that runs our political system, And some of us came into this realm to speak against it to better our own soul's evolution. We agreed to do this. And you don't do something halfway. If you're in this for the soul's evolution, you go all the way and you don't start getting distracted by the material realm. And that's what a lot of people are distracted by. The world of mammon, the material realm, worried about themselves, and resenting others that are in need. Worse yet, becoming afraid of others in need. Oh, they're in need. They may take something from me. That's a person consumed with lack. Or worse yet, ooh, that person's done videos. They've talked about this. The government must be after them. If I'm associated with them, they might come after me. More fear-based thinking. This is how the beast keeps his slaves. Many of them female. In line. And yes, this is how the war on the feminine, the goddess, continues. By attacking her children, especially the females, and turning them away from the good stewards of the earth. Those that truly have an affinity for the earth. Because there is a war being waged right now in the minds, in the spirits and souls of so many men and women that are on the planet right now. If you assume that based on someone's gender, that they're exclusively good or bad in the so-called manufactured war of the sexes, you've lost. You're not even on the same page. You're not even in this classroom. You didn't even sign up. Okay? Because we both, male, female, have both feminine, masculine attributes. And they are both healthy to express and feel and connect with. And we live in a world where we are told one is good, one is bad, it's penis versus vagina. That is so barbaric. That's so demonic to deny the sacred masculine and feminine within each of us. And it's worse when you go on a path and you try to deny someone of their sacred masculine or feminine. That's the oppressor energy. That's dominator energy. And that is what we have to step away from to evolve out of the Earth's vibrational frequency. This is not paradise. We're here for a reason. And this is truly Lucifer's dominion. It doesn't mean there aren't fairies. It doesn't mean there aren't good things. It means you are in a world of duality, and every moment of every day you are being tested as to which side of the waters you're going to swim. Are you just going to go with the 99%? That's why that whole meme was mind control. Oh, be a part of the mass way of thinking. Oh, but they made it all about money. It was really about the mass way of thinking. I am Legion, anyone? Right. It's less than 1% of the human population that truly thinks for themselves and is spiritually connected with the Creator. The bulk of humanity is following in the mainstream direction of the river. Like a fish, you have that swimming ability to swim upstream. And I remember being out in the desert, and there would be a cattle company that would come out and drop the cattle out in the open desert. There'd always be that one cow that stood down. While all the cows were grazing and just doing their thing, there'd be that one cow that would be like, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. I'm not just gonna stand up and just graze and eat like a friggin' cow, just sleepwalking my way to the slaughter. I'm sitting down now. Now, he may have just been sitting down because he needed a rest, but, you know, and cows aren't normally seen, you know, lying all the way down. Neither are horses, but sometimes they need to do that because they are heavy. But that's metaphoric. When you see, you know, one sheep pointing the other direction, or you see one person megaphoning a whole flock of other humans, or when you see one cow, you know, standing down while the others just graze and go in circles, or when you see one geese or one bird at the very back of the pack or the very front of the pack or off to the side of the pack. That is a representation of the 1% of consciousness that is not going mainstream. That's tapped into something else. Unfortunately, for mainstream America and mainstream planetary Earth politics, no matter what country you're in watching this, although most of you are in Western nations, we are judged by the mainstream if we are different. And it is perceived to be crazy or schizophrenic, whichever word you're more familiar using, whichever word you prefer to use, whichever word they prefer to use. And of course, that's why so many so many of this planet's children, the Creator's children, are being drugged by the pharmaceutical industries. I want to say this in relation to the homelessness conversation. There are a lot of homeless, I'm going to switch the conversation now, that are stuck in poverty consciousness. Because no one's believed in them, they don't believe in themselves. And they have to first believe in themselves before, as a prerequisite, their physical life changes. I believe in myself. I know there's great things waiting for me very, very soon. I just simply have to persevere. And I also know that many good things have happened in my life, and I've learned such amazing things, lessons in this life, that I bring back to YouTube and impart to some of you as my learning continues in this awakening. People also call other people sheeple to elevate their own self-esteem. We need to recognize our inner sheeple as well, to continue to refine ourselves on a soul level. What part of us follows and acts just like other people? What part of us may act like a child when we're upset? What part of us becomes cruel and hurtful to others when we ourselves, our self-esteem is threatened? I've identified it in myself. I don't have to come to YouTube and explain to you every fault of mine. That's a one-on-one thing. In fact, it's not really wise to run around saying how horrible you are. But I am a very self-critical person. And I've done my own psychoanalysis on myself. And I don't need strangers doing psychoanalysis on me. But there are certain people out there that have done their own psychoanalysis. And even though I haven't liked what they've said, I've listened to what they've said without ego. And some things have taken years for me to understand. And it's taken time to be willing to make certain changes in my life, to take sacrifice to the next level. And I'm willing to sacrifice my own time. I'm willing to sacrifice and go move somewhere for the truth to get the information out, even if it means working at a job that I hate. I'm not talking about the place I just applied, but in general. And that is why Outside the Box TV on Portland Cable Access between 2004 and 2011 was so stable. It was because I was working, I was living somewhere, and I played the game for a very long time. I invested a lot of myself in the show energetically. All the work was just there to pay for the bills so I can focus on Outside the Box, and that's what I'm focusing on again after 3 years of travel. 2.5 years to be specific. First to Dallas, Texas, and then off the grid in Colorado, and then to Kansas City, Missouri, and then back just recently several years ago, back in my home state, my home city in particular. And it took a lot to do this. A lot of personal healing was going on, at least in my own mind, and still is. And even though I do talk about the dark side of Portland and will continue to articulate certain things so people can see certain realities, it doesn't mean that I don't focus on the positive. And right now, I'm very much focused on the positive in my own life and what I can create for myself, what information I can still impart to you, despite the fact that I'm not working out of a studio, despite the fact that I consider my living situation currently homeless, even though I'm staying with a friend. Because tomorrow, I am going to be interviewing Matthew Stein, author of When Technology Fails. It's going to be a 1 hour plus interview. What would any of us do if the lights really went out? And you don't have to look at this as a fear-mongering episode. It's really informative. What solutions are available to us, or a community that's already off the grid preparing for this event, to make a possible transition from power to no power a little more comfortable, because we want to avoid the zombie apocalypse scenario where we're either hunting or being hunted. Why make jokes about going to someone's house and eating their food supply like a thief, like a potential threat, when you could be a part of the solution and do what you need to do to be self-sufficient? So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. It's going to be a 1 hour plus interview. So those people out there that have jobs, they can designate part of their day before they go to work or after they go to work to talking about these things. And they can put it out there on YouTube, and they can allocate some of their own resources to paying for a web domain. You know, I was able to put together $40 for my alexansary.tv domain. And that's due every year, and a .tv domain is much more than a .com domain, which can be pretty damn cheap. So whatever I can do, you can do, unless you don't have certain abilities to speak or to write or to put together a coherent thought. But you may have certain abilities that I don't have. I don't think I'm very good at certain things in this world, other than doing what I'm doing on video. That doesn't mean I'm right. In fact, I'm full of shit when I downplay my own value and I let the haters infiltrate my mind and whatever else is going on, the mind control, the overt and the covert. When we downplay our own value systems, the dark side wins and we inhibit the growth of our souls. When we override the programming of the matrix, when we see what we're truly capable of, the sky's the limit. And the point of all this is to properly learn to use our gifts for the greater good of all. You know, people talk about the law of attraction. Okay, well, let's talk about using that law of attraction not to have the perfect mate, the perfect car, the perfect house, but to make the world a better place because it's the right thing to do. And because monetary things come and go, they are not tangible things that truly can bring us happiness. They are not things that have anything to do with our soul's evolution. You know, you look at this ritual that's still being played out today, where the rich are buried with their items, with the watch. You know, it's more of a tradition of the past, but it still happens today. That's all about this obsession with being here on Earth, an obsession with physical things, that maybe those things can literally go with us to heaven. You know, what is this, some ancient Egyptian ritual? And there's so many ancient Egyptian rituals that are taking place in our society. We look at the dollar bill, we look at other things. By the way, Katy Perry's recent video, which I uploaded to this YouTube channel, you see the Eye of Horus, just the Eye of Horus. It's not the Eye of Horus is exclusively evil in my book, but look at this all-seeing eye constantly staring at you, constantly this representation of the New World Order, the all-seeing eye. And again, these old rituals keep playing themselves out to keep people in a lower state of consciousness, to keep people in the slave mind. What's important is to identify it and then step back from it and acknowledge what you don't stand for. And this is what some people forget, that are all about, all you focus on is peace and love and money and you get what you get. Not exactly. There is a time and a place to say, no, I don't stand for genocide. I don't stand for this and I don't stand for that. I'm not a part of that system. Not my president, not my war. They want to sit there and hate on people that actually have the guts to go out in the street. I like to interview Mother Teresa. Does Mother Teresa really believe there's no point in protesting anything? Because it sure seems like a lot of people took her quote, if you want peace, you got a peace for peace, and took it out of context. I'm not convinced Mother Teresa was trying to diss on protesters, but there sure are people that want to take Mother Teresa's quote to diss on protesters and say, oh no, you're focused on the negative. Why don't you come over here with the truffles? Why don't you come over here with the steak dinners? Ooh, why don't you come over here with the wonderful couples and girlfriends and boyfriends that we have that have money and stuff and they're happy and they're sexy and their complexion's good and their haircut's just right. There are so many people in the New Age movement, mainstream, that are chasing money and beastie things. Have intuition, and step away from those temptations that lead us to focusing constantly on the body and not the soul's evolution in this matrix. Your work, your labor is your property. A lot of people believe that, but a lot of people need to take it to the next level, beyond keeping all your money away from the IRS. Take that idea or understanding all the way. Don't hold back. Don't hold back. So what you focus your attention on, the people you give your time to or work for, all of that is yours. That's your energy. Okay? If you're upset because you're stuck at a job that you don't like, you need to start thinking about things you need to change in your life. If you made mistakes and you married the wrong person, and you're dependent on them or they're dependent on you, you need to take some form of accountability and not beat yourself up. A lot of people don't know how to take accountability because they think if they try to take accountability that it makes them a lesser person. No, it makes you a bigger woman. It makes you a bigger man if you take accountability for the mistakes you've made or are making. And if you feel like you're a slave, you need to think about how you escape your enslavement. You will never elevate yourself by attacking others that seek to be free. You only degrade yourself. And you're never better than someone else because you're putting more money than they are, either into the tax system or into the housing market. And that's exactly what you're doing if you have money for rent and you don't even own your home and you're sitting there with a job and you're taking your money and you're putting it back into the system into a home you don't even own. And even if you do own that home, what about property taxes? I sure know a whole lot of people out there that are working less hours the last few years that weren't expecting to be screwed when it came to property taxes. And a lot of people have been screwed. It's called gentrification. We're lower income folks, and they're not just black folks. They're also white. They're also Asian. They're also Arab. They're also Hispanic. There are many that have been affected by gentrification across the planet. Not just certain particular neighborhoods you're familiar with. It's a larger concept. It's a larger idea, a big idea, a new world order. And so there's a lot of people out there that weren't thinking that they would be affected. They were managers, they were working 60 hours a week. Now they find themselves working 30 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 10 hours a week, and they're hungry. And their property taxes are going up, and they're worried about the future, and they're getting older. We fucking warned you. And things aren't going to get better. They're going to get worse. And the more they keep us like peasants worried about working and paying rent, the less time we spend thinking about our freedom. The less time we start thinking about how we need to have more gardens, more places where we can build our own homes. We need less regulation. We need more regulation in the right areas. We need less welfare, but look at corporate welfare. When are we going to start dealing with that? It's like all these priorities are all fucked up because people are busy on the hamster wheel of life. If you are working right now and you feel like a slave, or if you're not working right now and you've got nothing to do, you need to allocate a certain part of your time towards freedom. You don't have to watch me, you don't have to support me, but you need to support yourself, your true self. And your true self is bigger than that small self that spent so many of their years working for someone else. We should be learning about our system and what life is really like for the last couple of years. Not rushing to get back into the system and, oh, things will be okay in a couple of years and we'll have a recovery. We should be having a conscious awakening as a result. Not just about the oppression that's taking place, but about the freedom that's possible. Think about a life without police. What would that be like? Think about a life without taxes. What would that be like? If we want to experience it, we have to imagine it. We have to think tank it. We have to, I'll even say, war game it. And we have to work to make it a reality. But in order to do that, we got to face reality. We got to face the truth. And that requires some of the ultimate sacrifices. And what are those? The pleasures that you have come to enjoy every single moment of every single day. The things people take for granted. Being used to so-called the structure of having a home and having a cell phone and having a gym membership and being cool and wearing nice clothes. All of these illusions. Impressing your man and impressing your woman. Those are the biggest forms of enslavement that the human species is under. And I'll just say it now, we'll talk about this another day. You got to think beyond your crotch and what your crotch wants. And until you do that, you haven't become a truly powerful human being. And so many people on this planet are in a cycle of enslavement because they are chasing this dream of finding love. And people get this advice. And it's great if you found love. And it's also great to have relationships and to learn from the friendships that you have. But nothing is permanent. And every couple of years, I think with the cycles of the sun and the planetary alignments, people feel different about themselves. And things change. And some people have a fucking meltdown because they've never figured this out. That you can't just hold on to life forever or a relationship forever. Things change. The important thing is to learn from the experience, learn from the relationship, to learn from these things, to grow your soul body. And one more thing, and we're going to close here shortly. This obsession with the body is being promoted more and more on television. Uh, there is a particular show that I have seen the last couple of nights. I don't watch TV, but the TV's been on at the place I've been staying, and there are these shows that are actually taking what was a conspiracy theory, uh, an idea, a futuristic idea, and they are promoting it as a potential reality very soon. And it's the idea of mind transfer technology, and that's a Luciferian program. You don't have to worry about your soul. You could stay in the material plane your whole life. Look, now we've got you on the grid. We've got you with the smartphone. We've got the biometrics here. You can live forever. Just let us inside your mind. Just let us chip you. As the big bad wolf stands outside the door, huffing and puffing, little pig, let me in, or I'll blow your house down, or I'll change your fucking world and make you poor. See, all these things are being offered to us. You don't have to be poor. You don't have to, you just need to work harder. We just need to see your fucking loyalty. And that's exactly what we're seeing. That's exactly what we're seeing when we are seeing more men and women join the military as the economy gets worse. And it's an issue that needs to be addressed. My intention with the Outside the Box video series has always been to plant seeds of consciousness so you, as well as myself, on a soul level, on a physical level, can to help provide information that can help set people free. And even though I don't claim to be a shining example of, I don't know, some perfect success that some of you may see, by your standards, I may not be. But what is success? What is true success? When you understand that freedom is an inside job and it's about freeing yourself from limited belief systems, when you understand that it's about being all that you can be and using your skills, your talents, and applying those for the betterment of humanity, then you're successful, then you win. In my opinion, you fail when you get lost into this beast system and you forget who you are. So there are so many other things that I want to address, but in conclusion, the job market has definitely shifted here in the United States, here in the Portland area, definitely on the planet. And I think that we need to focus on what is true value, not the monetary system. True value is community, as I've mentioned before. You don't become more free by attacking other people. And there's definitely been other issues that I brought up that relate to agriculture and diet. A lot of people aren't eating healthy, so they forget how much denial they may have been in for years because they can't remember what life was like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And there's certain mental issues, complications that do come up when someone's eating nothing but GMO. And I can see how that can have a contributing factor to someone exploding on someone else. Freedom is an inside job. Homelessness is a growing issue in America, and there's different, again, spectrum across the spectrum. There's so many different people that have become homeless in recent years that are not drug addicts, that are not users of other people. And so this is another awakening that many people that, while they talk about the economy not being in a good situation, if they're still in a position of having something, a lot of them don't know what the streets are actually like, how difficult things really are. And to add this in, how much resentment there seems to be amongst the homeless population, since everything is about competition and things of that nature. It's not always good to be around other homeless people. They're stuck in victim consciousness that resent seeing other homeless people get a leg up on life and get out of a negative situation. I also want to say that regardless of whatever happens with this recent job interview, I am going to stay optimistic. And if I do get a job, I am going to be saving a larger percentage of my paycheck for something relating to Outside the Box TV and bringing the show back on a regular basis. It's just that right now what's most important is that I find something and I start generating some form of income, because all of my money has now been spent on registration, on insurance, on car repairs, on getting here from Kansas City. So we're talking about an excess of $500 or $600, about $600. Nearly all the money that came in for donations for me to get out of Kansas City has gone specifically towards these projects. If you care to contribute to alexansary.tv or anything else, the email is down below, which is a way you can contact me, but it's also my PayPal ID. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for watching.